Hector Bravo Unhinged. Chaos is now in session.
Welcome back to another episode of Hector Bravo Unhinged. Today, special guest is none other than David Contreras, who spent 42 years of his life in law enforcement and all that good stuff, the California Department of Corrections, San Diego PD. So, hey, how's it going, dude?
You know, actually, it's 32 in law enforcement, but 10 years as a private investigator. So, yes, 32.
He made it a point to tell me it's 32, but I summed it all up because of the knowledge and experience that you gain, man, as a private investigator.
Yes.
Sometimes you're doing more sketchier stuff than in law enforcement.
Wait till you hear some of the stories. Very interesting stories, yes.
So what year did you first start law enforcement, and what agency?
You know what? I started with the California Department of Corrections. I started in 1985. I went through the CDC. It wasn't CDCR back then. It was just California Department of Corrections Academy in Galt, California. Don't ask me how long the academy was. All I could tell you, it was in Galt, California, and we slept in dormitories. And then we were pissed off because all these probation officers and parole agents, they had, the apartments. They had us running every morning. And I'll tell you, my first day through the Department of Corrections, I was never in the military, so it was a rude awakening. As soon as they welcome you, and then all of a sudden they have us tear down the, I guess it wasn't the chow hall, it was the one of the buildings 3 or 4 times. And back then, I mean, these guys would come up to you and, you motherfucker, you piece of shit, and make you right there and then. And I think the first day we probably lost about 20 people, to be honest with you.
You think due to the stress factor?
Well, I think it was a stress factor. I don't think that they were ready for that. I wasn't ready for that. Dude, I've never marched in my life.
Right.
And I was the worst marcher, and I still am the worst marcher. But I'll tell you, it was a lot of discipline. It was a rude awakening. I had never been in the military, but you know what? I caught on quick. And I got a chance to work with some great people in the Department of Corrections.
From what you remember, do you remember if your instructors at the academy had a lot of time in, and were they giving you information based on experience?
You know what? Yes. I remember one guy, it's funny, certain people you'll never forget. I'm talking about 1985, dude. A guy by the name of Paul Pacifico, and he was a K-9 officer. I believe he was a sergeant or was going to be a sergeant out of Chino. He was our training officer. And I never forgot him because you know what? The dude was a former Marine, tall, Chicano. He actually looked like a boxer. I think he was a boxer. I think he mentioned that he had boxed in the Olympics. And him and I was 24 years old at the time. A lot of the guys that were there, actually, believe it or not, I wasn't the youngest one there or the oldest because we had a lot of retired military.
Really?
Yeah, but the PD, I was one of the oldest. I went in at 20, yes. I went at 28 at the PD Academy. 29. Yeah, 29. I was one of the oldest, but going through the Department of Corrections, I got a chance to go through the academy with some great guys that I lost contact throughout the years, but Paul Pacific, if you're watching the show, which I know you probably are, everybody that works in corrections watches this show. Hey, saludos y mi respeto. Whatever you taught us back then, I still remember it. Mil gracias de todo corazón.
That's awesome, dude, man. Yeah. That's heartfelt, man.
Yeah.
You were a youngster, 24 years old.
Yeah.
What was the driving force? Did you want to serve? Were you an adventure seeker, an adrenaline junkie? What was the driving force?
You know what, Hector? I was that kid growing up in Chula Vista, right next to Otay. I went to Castle Park Junior High, Castle Park High School, and I was that kid that I knew at 5 years old, 6 years old, that I was going to be a cop. I grew up, all my friends, a majority of my friends, they were all gangsters from Otay. They were all tecatos, just like you. I mean, you grew up in Brole. All these dudes become tecatos, like Benny, all these guys that he knew. But I never used drugs. I never got in trouble, but I hung around with them. But I was always that kid that was always, I think I mentioned it on the Gray Line. We talked about my life. I was always fighting against the bully. I was never that bully. If anybody's watching, we were kids. If you say I was bully, you're a liar. I was that guy that was always protecting the kids. Back then, we didn't have spectrum. This kid's a special. Dude, we had kids that couldn't read.
Right.
We didn't have special schools. Right. So I was the one that the guys that hung around with me were all special. They literally, those were the ones. And I was always a good football player, baseball player. I was always very athletic. But I always took time to protect the ones that needed protection. I was the one fighting at 4th grade, fighting against a 6th grade bully. You know what I mean? But I was always, so going back to your question, I always wanted to be a cop, but I didn't get a chance to become a cop till I was 24 years old.
Blessed are the peacemakers, man.
Yeah.
So where'd you go? Donovan? Your first prison?
No, actually, my first prison, I was supposed to go to Tehachapi State Prison. That's where I was supposed to, because they were opening the first level 4 there.
Wow.
So me and a group of guys were scheduled to go to Tehachapi. While during that time, I was married to my first wife, and we had 2 daughters. So I had her while I'm going through the academy looking for a place for us to live in Bakersfield or in Tehachapi.
Okay.
Dude, we had never heard of Bakersfield or Tehachapi. I'm from San Diego.
Right.
Born in Tijuana, 9 months old, grew up in San Diego, Chula Vista, not San Diego County. But so we didn't even know where that. So as I'm going through academy, my wife's looking for a place there at the time. They sent, all of a sudden, probably within, what was it, maybe about a month before we graduate, they say level 4 is not opening yet, so we got to find you a new prison.
Wow.
And during that time, I don't know where you went for your OJT. I think they sent us once to Preston, and then the next time they sent us, I believe, 3 or 4 days to Tracy. So when we get to Tracy, that's a long story, but you could watch it on my show when I talk about my first experience at Tracy. I'm at Tracy, I'm there, and everybody's good people. They have me working K-Wing and different areas, and I'm starting to like it, right? And all of a sudden, one day I'm coming back. They go, "Do you want to stay there?" I go, "Well, is there anything else available?" They go, "San Luis Obispo." And everybody's going, "Man, San Luis Obispo next to the beach. It's beautiful." And Tracy's in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
So I call my wife. I mean, soy a mandilon. Yes, I am.
Hey,
I
join the club.
But we got divorced afterwards.
Yeah.
But I call her up and I go, "Hey, man, beach or Tracy?" She goes, "Beach. We're from San Diego." So I ended up going to CMC. And I'm telling you, Hector, that was the biggest blessing, going to CMC, because it was a PC joint.
Right.
So we had all the MM members there. We had all the Watson, Charles Manson killers there, all the cops there, all the NF, ABs, all the dropouts were there. So I got a chance to have Tiny Contreras, the one who killed Cheyenne Cardiz. He was on my tier. I had all these dudes on my tier that I got a chance to literally talk to them every day. And that's another story on its own. Once again, if they want to watch how I got involved in prison gangs. But I don't know if you've ever heard of a guy by the name of Hawks, Devin Hawks.
Yeah.
He's a legend in the Department of Corrections. Well, I believe he started, and he watches your show, Devin. My respect. This guy is a legend in the Department of Correction. He really is. Well, he was working there as one of the gang coordinators.
Okay.
And I got a chance going to the Department of Corrections to picking his brain, to working with a real legend who later on, literally Devin Hawks is a legend. So I got a chance to really get to work with the best of the best when it comes to prison gangs, to interviewing gang members and so forth.
No, that's awesome, dude. And we were saying how different generations, and
Yeah.
back then, that's how it was. People would school you. Oh, the OGs would take you under their wing and show you the ropes, man.
Yeah.
That nowadays, that's a thing of the past. That's non-existent these days.
Yeah.
So you got the introduction to gangs, you got the
Yeah.
introduction to law enforcement, you got an introduction to hardcore criminals,
Yeah.
and then you transferred somewhere else, promoted
Yes, and
somewhere
then
else?
from right there, they were going to open up Donovan. They were going to open up Donovan in '87, and they were also they were in the process, and they were about a year away, I believe, to open up Pelican Bay. So I remember having a conversation with Devin, and him going, "Man, why don't you go to Pelican Bay with me? I'm going to be up here." And I'm thinking Pelican Bay, but dude, my dad, my family, my
Right.
sisters, everybody was in San Diego. But you know what? Before I go there, let me tell you how Department of Corrections was very different back then. Hector.
Sounds like it.
Well, I don't know what year your dad went in.
93.
But 92? Okay.
93.
93. Well, in 85, dude, it was very different. It was very racial within the prison guard, especially at the California Men's Colony. It was all white. There was only a few Chicanos, and the Chicanos, you spoke Spanish. The whites, officers, talking about officers, they would come up to you and they would literally say, "Man, you're in America, fucking speak English." You know what I mean? And you just be quiet. But yet when it came time to interview somebody, you know what I mean?
Right.
And the use of force was very different. Over there, if an inmate talked back, it was very different. They got a beating coming. You know what I mean?
No, I do
It was
know.
very different. Very different.
I do know
Yeah.
what you mean, man. And I like to dissect and see how we got to where we're at these
Yeah.
days and how things were back then.
Yeah.
Right. And again, you hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
Use of force was different.
It was very different. Yes.
From your opinion, from your experience,
Mm-hmm.
did you find that use of force to be effective?
You know what? To a point.
Okay.
To a point.
Can you elaborate on
Yes, yes. And to the point where Dude, we know as cops,
Correct.
and I'm going to go as a cop, San Diego cop, and as a correctional officer, we knew which correctional officers or San Diego cops had their lunch money taken when they were kids.
Facts.
We knew who you were. You know who you are. You know what I mean? We didn't like you.
Right.
You know what I mean? And the inmates didn't like you, and the people in the community didn't like you because we knew. And the majority of them were short little fuckers. You know what I mean? The majority of them were little guys that literally had a beef against the world because they were always picked on. So it was those guys that I was always looking at because they were the ones when the guy was cuffed, they wanted that last slap. You know what I mean?
Correct.
So, yeah. So I think going back to your question, yes, I think that it was effective when the cuffs were on, the fight was off.
Facts.
You know what I mean?
Facts,
the fight
dude.
was on. And you know what? To me, I've always told people, I didn't get into a lot of scuffles, I would say, because you know what? I knew how to talk to people.
Right.
But every inmate that's ever dealt with me knows that, you know what? You cross that line, we go. You know what I mean? But we draw a line.
I like that.
Yeah.
Let's simplify it
Yeah.
for 2024, man.
Yeah.
If you were in a tussle with a cop, it's all fair game until the handcuffs come on.
Yes.
Once they come
Yes.
on, I mean, and I think that should have just been.
That should have been.
That should have just been.
Yes.
From
But it
day
was
one.
always those little guys
Right.
that always, wanted to use that extra amount because they had their lunch money taken.
No, I hear you, man.
I mean, I'm sure you saw it, right?
yeah, I seen a lot.
Yeah, I'm sure you saw, but you
I
saw
seen a
the
lot.
ones that,
I
you know
seen it.
what,
Yeah,
that
I
were
seen it.
badge
I'll be honest
heavy.
with you. On this
Yeah,
Hector
come on,
Bravo
dude.
Unhinged, I seen dudes
Yeah.
do a little extra.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
you know what?
and I
We
didn't
knew
sit.
when to stop.
Right.
Yeah, and then we would
You're making
actually
me-
tell them, dude, I don't want you in my beat. Don't get out of my beat.
Right.
Yeah.
You're making me break a sweat, bro, because you don't have to do that, right? You don't have
No,
to. You can
no.
accomplish the mission without having to do that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Man, bro. Now let's jump to, because we got a lot to talk about.
Oh, yeah, we do.
We
Yeah.
do. So San Diego PD.
Okay.
Did you ever consider staying in CDCR, or were you using that as a stepping stone to get to the PD?
You know what happened was when I got transferred to San Diego, I was working R&R. And I don't know if you remember the old or the new R&R, there was a water fountain, and then below the water fountain, there was like cement, and there was like 5 names on there. One of those was my name.
Okay.
It was David Contreras, Blackie Ramirez, Jackson, Turi, and some other guys. We were the originals that started.
Nice.
I was literally the one that when the first bus came to Donovan in 87, I can't tell you the month, but it was on the news, that when those inmates literally, they went to 3 yard where you now have the hole. What building is that?
That would be that would be the
3
2
yard?
yard.
Is it
Bravo
2 yard?
where you
Bravo
got Building
yard?
6 and Building 7 in
Building
the back.
6. It was Building 6. That was R&R. When they first opened, when the first day they opened, the first 2 months,
Yeah.
R&R was in
Building
Building
6.
6.
Interesting.
And the bus came out through the back.
Okay.
So my sergeant was Blackie Ramirez. Blackie, I know you're watching. Love you, brother, man. You were one of the best sergeants I ever worked for in the Department of Corrections. And Blackie was my sergeant. He was a former Marine. He came from CMC. The dude wouldn't take any shit from nobody, but he was respectful. But you crossed the line, you had it coming. You know what I mean? But he was the best of the best, man. I mean, he was backing us up, but we had a bunch of men
Right.
that we weren't going to be slapping nobody around. You know what?
Right.
But if you had it coming, we deal with it.
Correct.
But we weren't that kind. We didn't have any guys that got their money taken. All these dudes were bigger than me.
Right.
You know what I mean? So going back to that, it was great, man, because I did I think 3 years 2.5 years at Donovan. And what happened was I was scheduled to go to the security squad. And I was that guy in R&R that as soon as we'd get all these inmates, I was the one documenting the gang members, sureños, norteños. And dude, because I've always loved working prison gangs, you know what I
Right.
mean? Even street gangs. So I had my own index card. I would be sending the information. So I was supposed to go to the security squad. But what happened, the warden, Rattel, selected somebody else. And dude, that was literally the last stick that broke the camel's back. Carlos Chacon at the time, which is another one of my mentors, San Diego PD, Detective Sergeant Chacon. Thank you, brother. He's the one that basically recruited me to go to San Diego PD. And you know what? I didn't regret it at all, man. I mean, I love Department of Corrections. I love the people that I work with. But once I went to San Diego PD, dude, I was there to stay.
Well, I could only imagine how much of a better cop it made you having those communication skills.
Oh my God, you cannot believe that, man. I mean, I'm going through training, and I got this training officer who later on became Deputy Assistant Chief of Police, Todd Jarvis, and I'm teaching him.
Right.
You know what I mean? Hey, that guy's a parolee. That guy's a parolee. And he used to always say, man, Contreras, he used to call me clusterfuck. He goes, oh, clusterfuck, because, dude, we'd be driving 11 o'clock at night. He was assigned to downtown at the time. He was my first training officer, and I still practice things that he taught me, believe it or not. Remember I told you Pacifico?
Yeah.
Todd Jarvis is another one that I still today drive my personal vehicle in Tampa. A car pulls up next to me, and we're at a stop sign or stoplight, I always pull behind him. Dude, he taught me that. And no matter how cold or I always have the window down because you're listening for a gunshot. Dude, I still practice. It's funny how it went. But yes, you know.
Yeah, I always leave enough room to be
Me
able
too.
to get
That's
out,
another
fuck out
thing.
of there.
And the other thing too that I still practice today because of him, dude, we're talking about 1989, man.
Yeah.
I still, even today, if I stop and I'm going to exit my car, I never go in front. I always go through the back.
Really? What's the reason behind that one?
Well, the reason, because if you ever went to the front of a traffic stop, and I'm not talking about, but I still practice it no matter if I park. But on a traffic stop, you get out of your vehicle and you go in front of your car, he could rear end you.
Okay.
And take your legs out. Okay. So no matter what, if I was in a traffic stop, and always whenever you come near a car, first thing you do is you touch the trunk. Why? I don't know, but I still do that, dude. I'll go to the supermarket, I'm walking by Pam, and I'm just going, what the fuck did I do that for? You know what I mean? But you know what? It's things that you learn,
right?
You know, and because of him, yeah, I still practice some of those things.
Back then in San Diego PD, was there less stations, substations? Was there less? Probably, I'm assuming maybe now they cover more ground, or was there?
You know what? No, we still had the same ground that we covered.
Really?
We still had the same ground. I believe we have maybe one or two new subs. Back then, we didn't have the Logan Heights substation at 25th and Imperial. We were all Central Division was Logan Heights, or Sherman Heights, Logan Heights, Grand Hill area, and downtown was all at police headquarters, right down the street here at 14th and Broadway. Later, they opened up the substation. I never got a chance to work there at 25th and Imperial. 25th and Imperial was probably the worst part of the city. It used to be the welfare office. So, dude, we used to have shootings there, stabbings.
What year?
It was
what
bad.
time frame was
this? Is from 19. It was probably there from 19, probably early 80s. And I was probably 1995. 1995, they finally put the substation there. They got rid of it, of the welfare office, and probably 94, but I never got a chance to work in there.
So in your opinion, do these San Diego's downtown streets look grimier now or grimier back then?
When I left the department in 2015, they look much better than they do right now. Right now that I drove in here and I saw all the homeless, dude, I had valet parking. I had to bring my bag with my gun inside.
Correct.
Because you know what? I wasn't going to trust. Even if there's valet parking at one of the nice restaurants here, or nice hotels, I didn't trust it. And walking over here, I've never seen the homeless problem as bad as it is now. And you know what? We just had the new chief of police, Scott Wall, on our show, and that's one of the things, biggest thing that he is currently working on the homeless issue. And he brought it up. We were bringing up gangs, cartels. He goes, my biggest problem is the homeless. And you know what? Now I know what you're talking about, Chief, and please take care of it, because it's not fair for the people that live downtown. And I know you're going to take care of it.
Or anybody in general, man. People that come visit out of state.
Exactly.
San Diego's probably the most beautiful city.
It is. Very beautiful.
Ain't nobody trying to, bums peeing,
Yeah, so I think I've gotten worse downtown. Yeah.
Man. So did you as a police officer work the Logan Heights and or gang-infested neighborhoods?
Oh, yeah, man. When I came on, back then, after I graduated from the academy, I think we had 4 phases. We went to different commands. My first phase, I was at Central Division. Second phase, Southeast. And then we'd go on Southern and so forth. Dude, back then, I'm not saying I was the best. I say this humbly. Only the best of the best came to Central Division. And, dude, and if somebody... now I hear the best of the best go to Mid-City, other command, Southeast. Back then, Central Division, dude, that was Logan Heights.
It was?
Yeah, oh yeah. And people always said we used to call it downtown cops. We used to call them downtown clowns. And I know none of you are watching because none of you were correctional officers. But we used to call them downtown clowns because, dude, we were the Logan Heights cops, dude. It was the brotherhood. It was like the Marines. Right. You know what I mean? we love our guys downtown. Yeah. But, dude, it was a different mentality. It was a brotherhood. only the best of the best worked down Logan Heights at the time.
Dude, you were primed and ready for, I would only assume, would be the early 90s gang boom.
Dude, when I was working Logan Heights, all these guys that became assassins for the Ariano cartel, every one of them, David Barron, dude, they lived. My gang was Calle 30.
Okay.
You know, don't ask me about Red Steps. Don't ask me about Trece. You could ask me about Sherman. You could ask me about Lomas. I knew them very well. But dude, my gang set where they knew me and I knew their parents. I had so many informants into Calle 30. It was unbelievable.
Did you ever know an individual by the last name of Blanco?
Oh, yeah. Well, I knew the Blancos very well. Yes, I knew the Blancos very well. Yes.
And I bring that up. Somebody told me that, hey, ask him if you know about them.
Yes.
And I actually know one of the dudes who's in prison, man. Very respectful inmate.
Yeah.
Very respectful dude.
Yeah.
He has life without, man.
Yeah.
And since, you know, it's one of the, since the governor wants to let people out like the Menendez brothers, I think to myself, well, why not let this dude out?
Oh, dude, you're talking about the youngster, Adoniram.
Yeah, Arath.
Arath. Oh, dude, that little boy. You know what, man? That little boy, he's a victim of circumstances.
Can you elaborate? I'm getting chills because I didn't want to bring this up, but I wanted to get your honest opinion, dude.
I'm glad you did.
I'm a fair man, dude.
Yeah.
I'm a fair guy.
You knew him, Arath?
I knew him at Centinela, and I knew him at Donovan.
Really?
Dude. Very respectful guy. Visits every weekend.
Yeah, for his beautiful wife. Yes.
I hope he gets out, dude.
Dude, that kid right there grew up with Conejo, his brother Beto. I was there when his brother Beto was shot. Actually, his brother Beto, when he was shot, didn't die in my arms, but I was holding him when Shelltown came and shot him at 1 o'clock in the morning. I remember it was a Monday night. I believe it was January. And we're talking about 1992, 93. Don't quote me on the exact date. But, dude, that's one thing that I'll never forget. Beto was David Barron. You've heard of David Barron,
Absolutely.
Popeye's godson.
Really?
When Beto died that night, that weekend, David Barron came across the border. How he came across the border, dude, through a tunnel, and he went to Shelltown. And that was the first time during that era that AK-47s, we used to hear shotguns, barrio against barrio, drive-bys, always shotguns, 22s, maybe a 45, dude, I was there during that time. Never an AK-47. Because they killed his, as a matter of fact, David Barron named his son Alberto behind Albert Vasquez. Dude, what a small world. Well, going back to that, his brother, his tío was another guy by the name of Jesus Araujo. He was one of the main leaders of Logan Heights Calle 30. I mean, they don't have an anarchy, you know, where they have monarchy, where they have leadership, but there's always those tough guys that run the barrio. It was Popeye, it was the other Popeye Aguirre. Dude, they all came out of the Araujo house. So going back to Arath, me and my partner, Van Cruz, were working Logan Heights at the time. Dude, we saw Arath growing up. We used to go out there in uniform and play basketball with him.
Nice,
play
dude.
catch. He was that good kid that he was going to La Jolla because they were coming busing him at the time. I hope his wife's not looking, but she probably is. Dude, that guy was a little player. Oh, dude,
we're going to have to edit that part out, man.
He would come back.
My boy's not going to get no more visits, man.
He would come back. Well, that's before he met her, his beautiful wife.
True.
I met his beautiful wife. Well, he would always come back and, dude, he'd tell us stories. Hey, man, today, man, I got a blonde. Today, I got it. Dude, we used to sit down. We knew Arath so well. He was that kid that I would have invested money in his college. You know what I mean? I would have said, you know what, Arath?
Wow.
He was a good kid.
Did he ultimately get...
What happened was I get transferred out. I think I went to community relations for a year and a half, and then I get transferred to San Isidro. And when I'm in San Isidro, I don't come back to Logan Heights. I'm in San Isidro. I was there for a year and a half. Then I went to gangs, and now I'm in gangs. I'm all over the city, so I never saw him again. But I remember Van Cruz continue working as a sergeant in Logan Heights. One day he calls me and he goes, guess who got arrested? And I go, who? He goes, Arath. And he tells me about what happened, about the murder. Dude, he got screwed on that case. And I'll be the first to say, you know what? Out of all those guys, I think it was 8 guys that got arrested. Dude, I knew all of them. He was the one of the guys ratted on him. 1 or 2 of the guys ratted on him. Dude, he was not a leader. He was probably drunk at the time, but he was that kid. If I would have bet money, I'm not a bettor, but I would have said he is going to make it. But dude, he grew up in the worst of the worst, and he wasn't like them. Dude, he wasn't a gangster. He was that kid who wore jeans, who wore tennis shoes. Dude, he was never a gangster. And why he got life without parole, I wish I could do something for him. He doesn't deserve that. He's already done, I believe, 30 years. And I know that murder was gruesome. I know all about it. But if there's anything that I could ever do for him, because I know that, you know what, if anybody deserves a chance, it's Arath. I'm telling you, I'm not one of those bleeding hearts, dude. I mean, people that know me, they know who I am. I mean, I'm as straight as can be and as truthful as I can be. But Arath is a special case, man.
I mean, I'm a firm believer in God, bro. And I feel the same way. I'm not a bleeding heart liberal. And you know what side of the fence I stand on. But I know what fair and fair is.
Yeah.
Right? So.
Yeah. And I knew those guys that he was with, they were killers. I could tell you, I'm not going to mention their names out of respect because they're all out now.
Right.
Except him.
Right.
But I tell you, every one of those guys I arrested for 245, for shootings, for stabbings. Every one of those guys I knew, and you all know you all remember me very well. But Arath, I'm telling you, Arath, dude, he was not one of them. He was at the wrong place at the wrong time and probably high. And he was a good kid. What a small world, brother. You mentioned him.
Yeah.
And Spencer that I get off on it because you know what? I like that kid. He had potential. He has potential. Yeah. He has potential. Yeah.
And again, just to emphasize, he was very respectful, man. When I was a CO at Centinela, and then I came to Donovan when I was a sergeant and lieutenant. I'm like, hey, man, what's up? And, you know, but
dude, he remembers. He remembers me and Van Cruz. Yeah, they used to call me and my partner. Van Cruz is a Filipino, so you know everybody has these cool name cops. You know, they have Batman, Robin. Yeah, they got Pac-Man. Dude, they used to call us Rice and Beans. I was the beans, and my partner was Rice. You know.
So during that time frame, there was a lot of cross-border interaction.
Yeah.
Was that up to the San Diego PD to get involved in that, or were there other agencies that kind of took?
You know, it's during that time that my partner Van Cruz and I mean, dude, we were 30. I'm talking about from 89, 90, from 90 to 93 and a half. Yeah, 94. Dude, we were in Calle 30 every day. They knew us. And one thing about my partner and I, we weren't just beat cops. Dude, we would go and we would buy gifts for, maybe never for Arath, but for other kids in the community. We would have Christmas. We would dress up like Santa Claus in Calle 30. Like I said, don't ask me about Red Steps, dude. I don't know anybody. Yeah. Or Sherman. I knew a lot of those guys. But 30, for whatever reason, God placed a burden in my heart to help 30. So I knew all of their parents. I knew Arath's mom. I knew all the parents. They all knew me. Yeah. I was that cop that I'd be driving by. Señor, le tenemos tamales. Hey, señor, aquí le tengo un chapurrado.
As a cop?
As a cop. Dude, I'm in a patrol car. I'm that guy. And I was that cop, me and my partner, that whenever let's check this out, dude. Whenever you'd be driving by, they'd see other cops and they'd flip them off, right? Dude, they'd see us and they're all, órale Contreras, órale rice and beans, right? So you know what I used to do? I used to get on the microphone because, I mean, I came out of the Pinta, right? And I go, puro norte, puro NF aquí, cabrones.
Would they laugh?
Contreras. No, they were all laughing. You know what I mean? But that's the type of rapport we had with those guys. Dude, anybody else, they would have shot at you.
Right.
Thrown rocks at you. But, dude, they would all, no, rifa sureños, you know? But, yeah.
And that's the fun part, man. Like you were stating earlier, that's the fun part. We were able to interact and maneuver.
Yeah.
In that environment.
Exactly.
That environment is not for the faint of heart.
But I'll tell you, when it came time to take care of business, dude, they knew. And you know what? We would jump over fences. You shoot at me. Right. You hurt somebody. There was one guy, I'm not going to mention because I don't want to give him any power, that while we're working 30, this little monkey decides to start taxing the viejitas in Calle 30. So I go up to one of the older homeboys. I go, hey, ¿sabes qué? Take care of this little dude, man. He's taxing viejitas. He's threatening to burn their houses down. We'll take care of it, Contreras. Next thing you know, one of viejitas' house burns down. Only God knows whatever happened to that guy. We never did find out whatever happened to him because they took care of their own. Man. You know what I mean?
What kind of sidearms did you have back in the day? Revolvers, or did you have semi-automatics?
When I came out of the academy, they gave me a revolver. Okay. Came out of the academy. I think I was one of the first classes that they allowed us to bring in our 9mm, and I remember buying my Smith & Wesson model, I believe 469, and as a matter of fact, I gave it to my grandson, and I still have my original model. I believe it's 416 or 659.
Yeah.
But it was, I believe, 7 or 8 shot, and I was one of the first of my academy class, but we had to buy them. And I remember for years, I still kept that gun that they gave me, that Smith & Wesson 5 shot, whatever.
Yeah.
But I never trained with it. I trained with my own gun. So
Man.
yeah, back then, and that's the only weapon you could carry, a 9mm. When Chief Lansdowne came in, he opened it up to 40s, to 45s. He opened up for other weapons to come in.
Dude, that's interesting, man.
Yeah.
So now walk me through, you wanted to tell me about the story about Mexico. How does this evolve, man? Was this during your private investigator days or when you were still a cop?
Well, you know what? Like I said, I started in Logan Heights.
Okay.
And I'll tell you, one of the things I never really talk about is my last year and a half in Logan Heights, I wanted to get transferred to community relations. Because community, really, you always talk about you being a PIO.
Yeah.
Remind me to tell you, I was San Diego PD's PIO to the Latino community.
Okay.
Yes. And, but that wasn't during the time. But I got a chance now for a year and a half, from 84 to 95, for about a year. Yeah. A year to be the community relations, where I actually wore a suit to work. I had my own office in Barrio Sherman, and I would go and I would work with the parents. And I would go and I would work with the teachers. I would work in the community. I was, if they had burglaries, I would say, you know what, let's deploy 25 officers here. I was working with the command. I was the liaison to the community. I got a chance to do so many things. Let me tell you a quick story about one of my first almost shootings, how God works. I know, dude, we only have 2 hours, but you need to hear this story. One of the things that when I came on, we were on a squad that we were very proactive. So what my partner and I did, we would go like to the thrifty store, where they sell used clothes, and I would buy these big trench coats. So when we're working graveyard, when the night was slow, we would put trench coats on and we would get empty bottles of whiskey and we would walk around like we were drunks. We would put a hat on and walk in the barrios, literally, hey, cabrón, órale, and then we see guys making deals. And then when they make the deals, we take off the jacket, tackle them, and we'd arrest them, right? But I remember one night we're walking, my partner and I, Van Cruz, we're walking through the South Alley. Yes, it's a South Alley of 2400 J Street. And as we're walking, we have our trench coats on, and it's slow, so there's no radio calls, but we got a little radio piece on, so we're listening. It's 3 o'clock in the morning, and all of a sudden we hear, "Viva Mexico, cabrones!" And this guy comes out, and we hear, we don't know where it's coming from. We hear, "Pa, pa, pa," 5 shots. And then all of a sudden he go in. By now, radio calls are coming in. Somebody's shooting. I mean, you're in Sherman Heights. Somebody's shooting rounds. And by now, we're literally, like every 10 minutes, he would come out and he'd go in the house drinking tequila, come out and shoot. So my partner and I see it. So we start calling everybody in. Hey, you know what? We got the shooter. He's on the second floor at 2235 J Street, the gray apartment complex. He's on the second floor. Contreras is taking the staircase. I'm taking the side. I mean, we're setting a perimeter. You know how we do it.
Yeah.
Setting a perimeter. Everything's getting set up. And I remember one of the times he comes out, I mean, literally we were timing it, 9 minutes. He'd go in, load up at 22, load it up, come back out, Viva Mexico, and he shoot it off, right? So now I'm at the bottom, and there's a guy right next to me. I'm not going to mention his name because he's not here to defend himself. He's a piece of shit. He's a cop. He's standing right next to me, and he's the Mexican man, big fat guy, comes out. And when he comes out, typical, comes out, Viva Mexico, and he shoots up. Now, I know he's Mexican. I know he doesn't speak English. He's probably illegal, right? I'm at the bottom of the staircase. I'm looking at him, and I got my gun pointed right at him. Van is over there. We got the whole place surrounded. And as I'm pointing up, the cop next to me is whispering in my ear. I'm yelling at him, "Baja la pistola, la policía de San Diego, baja la pistola, cabrón." I mean, I'm using every word possible to get him off. And as I'm pointing my gun at him, I remember he looked at me. And when he looked at me, he had the gun up here because, he shot off and he'd go back inside, drunk, tequila. And he looks at me and he's bringing the gun down. As he's bringing the gun down, this cop is whispering in my ear. I mean, he's right here. He's going, "Let's kill this motherfucker. Let's kill this." And I'm yelling at him, and I got my finger on the trigger, and I'm ready to blow this guy. And now I'm thinking, you know what? Pop, 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 pop. 3 shots. He's down. Right. And he's going to come down. I'm already thinking I'm going to move out of the way because he's going to splatter over here. But dude, he's not pointing the gun. He's bringing the gun down. This guy is whispering, let's kill him, let's kill him. I mean, swear to God, he's yelling, let's fucking blow this motherfucker. He's doing this. And I look at him, I'm still got my eye on him, and I go, there's no threat. I go, there's no threat. He goes, he's bringing it down, man. He's bringing it down. Dude, I'm not afraid to kill anybody that is a threat to me. But when there's no threat, and there wasn't no threat, he put the gun down when he dropped the gun and he falls down. We had to call an ambulance for him because it was a staircase made out of cement. And he comes, we handcuff him. Dude, 3 weeks later, that same cop that was whispering in my ear, and I remember he goes, we could have killed him. I go, we could have killed him? I go, dude, where's the threat?
Right.
You know, dude, I'm the first. I'll blow you away if I feel a threat, but there was no threat. Well, let me tell you what happened. So 3 weeks later, that same cop gets arrested for being, he was exposing himself at an elementary school.
No,
3 weeks later, that same cop that's yelling at me, kill that motherfucker, he gets arrested. So everybody's all, he got arrested, and oh my God, because the guy was, a good cop, felony cop. But I'm thinking, no, you know what? If I would have pulled the trigger, well, going to community relations, one of my jobs was to, if there was shootings, a lot of gang violence, we would get the community to come out and basically work with the community to march against gang violence and work with us with the churches, right?
Yeah.
So one day I'm holding, like I said, I was there for a year and a half. I got a chance to work with the pastors, with the churches, superintendents, schools. So I'm holding this get together, and I need people to help me pass out flyers and to march. And I'm working together with the police. I'm the liaison. This man shows up.
The old man, the
drunk.
The
drunk. The drunk shows up with his little daughters. And when he comes up to me, those are things you never forget.
Right.
And I remember looking at him in the eye, and I go, do you remember me? And he goes, Señor. And he sees my name. Well, actually, I had a suit and tie. He goes, no. I go, I'm a cop. I go, soy policía. And he goes, okay. I go, ¿te acuerdas una vez, cabrón? Estabas bien borracho. And I tell him, dude. And he goes, sí, señor. Yo era. I go, I know, because he still had the scar, right? And I go, you know how close you came to dying that night? And he looked at me, and I didn't tell him, oh, I got a shot. No, I just go, but do you know how close you came? I go, and he goes, look at me now. He goes, I don't drink anymore. I'm with my children. But that's how destiny and God works. You know, Hector, because I know that if I could, it would have been a justifiable shooting, but down deep inside, you know when it's time and when it's not. You know what I mean?
Well, there's no doubt that you took in all the circumstances. Facial expressions, is his moves aggressive? Are they not?
Yes.
Does he want to hurt me? You can tell in a person's eyes if they want you
could
fucking hurt.
Yes, you could see it. And you know what? Luckily for me that I was right.
Correct.
You know what I mean? But I'm telling you, the minute that gun, he was gone.
Well,
I know
you're
without
a good
doubt.
cop, man. You know what I mean?
He was gone. But what I'm trying to say here is that you know what? If you're in it to kill, if you're in it to hurt, then get out of it. You know what? You're going to have plenty of chances. You will suffer at the end because you knew that it wasn't the time. You know what I mean?
There's two extremes to that, though.
Oh, there is two extremes.
There's that extreme, where bloodthirsty people.
Yes.
And then the prey.
Yes. And you know what? I was never a prey, and I would never allow myself to be a prey. You ask anybody that knew me. Do
you have a message for those that will maybe hesitate or maybe don't? Maybe they just show up to the job because they want a paycheck, not prepared.
No. You know what? Don't believe anybody. That's one thing why I was a pretty good cop, because I never believed anybody. And I don't care if they were my informants. When I talk about Arath, yes, you know what? The kid, we wanted to help him, but I always knew that, you know what? Yes, he wasn't perfect, and you know what? He could kill me. And no matter who I dealt with at the time, you know what? That guy, if I would have seen him just come up, he was coming down because I spoke the language, but I would not have hesitated to empty my chamber into him. I would not have. And don't ever hesitate. Don't ever, you'll know. You know. You know what I mean? Don't ever question yourself. Once that bullet leaves, you can't take it back. And you know what? You stick to it, and you did the right thing. You definitely did the right thing. But you will know. You will know.
You know, what is a current problem in 2024 is peace officers, law enforcement officers are actually more afraid of getting fired and prosecuted than actually losing their life, which caused them to hesitate. What do you have to say to that? That they're thinking I mean, you'll have a bad guy drawn on you, and they're thinking, "Fuck, I'm going to get fired."
You know what? Quit the job. It's not for you. Quit the job. Quit the job. I'll tell you, Hector, if you ever talk to any cops, I know you've had 1,000 cops on your shows. And if a cop ever tells you, that's bullshit, having cops having cameras, you know what?
I love it.
I love it. You know what? I wish when I came out in 89, I had cameras. 3/4 of 99% of my internal affairs complaints wouldn't have gone anywhere because there was a camera. You know what? If you have something to hide, then quit. If you have nothing to hide, you're doing everything the way you're supposed to, then you know what? Hey, more power. So I believe in cameras, but if you're afraid to get prosecuted, please quit. Please quit because you're going to get yourself hurt or you're going to get your partner hurt. But you're going to get hurt if you're afraid to pull that trigger or afraid of getting prosecuted. You're doing the right thing. When you press that trigger, just know that you're doing the right thing. You stand by it.
Speaking of policy and procedure and law, was it policy for you guys to don freaking trench coats and hats?
Oh, dude, I would have gotten fired.
You guys would have gotten fired?
Yeah. Hector, I had 8 months on the police department. 8 months on. And I think that I'm the only one that's ever done this, San Diego PD. And I'm not bragging about it, but I'm going to tell you, Benny, on my life, we did that 2-hour special. He started off reading my commendation. I had 8 months on, but I came out of the pinta, so I knew, you know what I mean? Well, what did I know? How to violate policy? Dude, I went at 8 months on, put a trench coat. I went into a house there in Sherman Heights, knock on a door with my police radio, with my uniform, but a trench coat. Quiero negra, cabrón. And the guy's, ¿cuántas dos? And I take out my $20 bill. I put my social security. Who puts a social security number? I put my whole social security number. And I pay with it. He gives it back to me. I go back to headquarters. Luckily, I had guys that had been on longer than me. They helped me. I didn't write it. Well, I wrote it, but they showed me how to write a telephonic search warrant. Dude, without the sergeant's permission. He never knew we were doing that. At the same time, we're answering radio calls. And I'm at the station. They're covering for me. I'm writing the search warrant. I swear in front of a judge. We get the search warrant. We go without our sergeant. We serve the search warrant. We got something like 70 bundles, like $2,000.
What was the point of the social security number? To confirm?
Well, to confirm. Once I got the money, I put on my report. I took a picture. This is what I sold them. So when we hit the house with the search warrant, I got my money. You know what I mean? We arrested like 5 pollos. They were illegals at the time selling. And then we called my sergeant. Hey, by the way, he served the search warrant. What? Oh, dude, he was going to fire me.
Really?
But like my father used to say, a veces es mejor pedir perdón que permiso. Sometimes it's better to ask forgiveness. But dude, I was young and dumb. He could have fired me. But instead, he was a good dude, man. He was a good dude. He goes, you know what? Because you're new. But the older guys pushed me into it, right?
Absolutely.
And he goes, don't you ever do this again. And he actually gave me a commendation.
Really?
He gave me one of the highest, which is a commanding officer citation. Those are very hard to get. And he gave me one of those.
Now, was that common practice? Was everybody doing this, or was it just a small few?
Dude, it was just us.
Yeah,
dude, I guarantee you, no San Diego cop ever did that in uniform. I was probably I'm not bragging about it, but yeah, I am. You know what I mean? Because you know what? Nobody was doing that. No. Now, they were wearing trench coats, walking, but actually buying dope in uniform, dude, I don't think anybody. And getting the search warrant at 8 months on. 8 months on. Yeah, wow, that was, but that's the way we worked every day in Logan Heights.
It's like the movie Training Day.
Oh, dude, we were out there, man. Yeah.
That's good, though, man. I like it. That's what I like, bro. It gives me like a rush, dude. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It was great.
Were you part of any major news, like events that happened, incidents where that got major media attention?
Well, when the Arianos came and started recruiting, I have a really good video. I'll send it to you. Take a look at it. I got interviewed by numerous. As a matter of fact, I have some videos from Germany, from Mexico. Dude, I got interviewed at World News because for whatever reason, everybody thought I was like the gang expert. And I really wasn't. I was working in Logan Heights, dude. But the gang expert was Steve Duncan. I don't know if you know Steve.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you ever get a chance, get him on your show. That guy.
Actually, there's a person that told me to bring up Arath. Is that told me to
he
ask
did,
about
really?
and told me
Yeah.
to ask about Duncan. Yeah,
Yes.
so send him my way and
Dude,
we'll knock it out.
He lives nearby here,
Okay,
son. You know
cool.
what? He would love to. That guy, he's a legend. Steve, you know what? Without a doubt, brother, you're a legend. He's the one that knew all those. He used to work at the juvenile hall when they were
Right,
kids.
right.
So he knew him. I
heard about
worked
that.
the streets, and he worked juvenile hall. And Steve Duncan, I'll tell you, that guy's a legend, without a doubt.
Well, to me, all
Yeah.
you guys are legends, man. Everybody
Yeah.
on the Gray Line podcast,
Yeah.
everybody that came before us.
Oh yeah,
Dude, you guys
Yeah.
you set the way, man.
yeah,
You mentioned Ariano recruiting
Yes.
from Logan Heights.
yes.
What type of individuals were getting recruited? Were they dummies? Were they hardcore? Were they tecatos? Or was it a gamut of
Dude, no tecatos.
No
At that
tecatos?
time, no, dude.
Straight
These
fucking
were
soldados?
soldados. These were kids. I mean, the only tecatos you hear of is Albert Marquez, this guy Pardo. These were all stoned. They were nothing. Albert Marquez in Mexico, Bat Marquez. Everybody talks. Get Bat, dude. Bat was a cristolero. You know what I mean? He was a drug addict. He was nobody. You know, it was guys like Pato Quiñones. It was guys like at the time Puma. A lot Tarzan, a lot of those vatos, they were tecatos, dude. They were stone killers. Villegas, these dudes. If anything, maybe PCP once in a while, but no, these guys were kids, dude. They were kids.
who were they pushing that hard line for?
Though they were pushing it for money. And that's when we started seeing the change in Calle 30. They were still Calle 30, but dudes, they did not dress like with the khakis. No, they started dressing like, when you go to a Mexican disco, you know what I mean? With those nice shirts, nice pants.
Cartel type.
Cartel type. They weren't driving the lowriders anymore. Dude, and then we started seeing, I went through the stages in 30, and I'm mentioning La 30 because that was my gang scene. When I would go always to the funerals, when they would have everybody dressed, with huge Charger jerseys, big khakis, Pendletons, and they would always be playing Angel Baby, sit in the park.
Yeah.
And then I went to the stage, lowriders. Dude, when all of a sudden you wouldn't see lowriders anymore, you would see a couple of guys, with the big jerseys on or the big pants, but you would see them come up in black SUVs, and they would have a banda playing corridos.
How common was
Corridos.
it to see felons come in and out of the streets?
Oh, dude, it was. Dude, they were.
revolving door?
When I was working 30 or working the, Logan Heights, they knew they better not come out when I was there because I knew them from the Pinta. And anybody that I saw there, dude, 3056 PC, which was parole violation, they were mine. There was one dude that I literally arrested 8 times in one day, dude. And you know what? I knew as soon as I would see a felon, if they were black, my way of looking at the blacks, because they were huge, but they had chicken legs.
Yeah.
This dude just got out of the joint. And my partner would say, how do you know? Dude, look at those legs. You know what I mean?
Right.
And the Chicanos, oh, dude, they came out all, I knew immediately the shoes. They were wearing the brown shoes back then.
Spit shine.
And they were wearing the brown shoes. And then as I'm going through their clothing, they used to have a little red notebook. And dude, that red notebook, I've never done time, dude. I gave you that when you got out. You know what I mean? So, dude, nobody was safe if they were a parolee at large, a parolee in Logan Heights when I was there, because, dude, I knew them like the palm of my hand. But yes, they were coming in and out. So a lot of them got deported back to Mexico. So a lot of them were deported, and that's when they joined the Arellanos, because a lot of them got deported. Once they got to Tijuana, these dudes grew up in L.A., grew up in San Diego. They had no ties, but they got deported, and that's when they joined.
So for the viewers and to help refresh my memory, what were they doing? Providing gunners to them in exchange for dope to come up north? What kind of business arrangement was
What
it?
they were doing at the time was they were basically recruiting them, taking them to Tijuana and Ensenada, Mexicali, Tecate, and training them to be assassins. And they were assassins. Down south. No, but they would also come to San Isidro and commit a murder. They would go to LA to commit a murder. These aren't gang members now. They were gang members at one time. They don't act like gang members. They're still tatted out. But a lot of the youngsters, Puma, dude, these guys never had tattoos. These guys had
straight fucking sicarios.
Sicarios. That's what they were. Straight sicarios. And they would put a bullet. They were really good shots. They knew how to use a .308. They knew how to throw a grenade. Dude, these guys were very well trained. We had heard, I can never prove this, that the Arianos were hiring Israelis to come and train them. We had heard that, never confirmed it. It was all rumors, but without a doubt, they were definitely being trained by different military personnel, whether it's America or Mexican, but they were trained by military personnel.
Now, did San Diego PD take a different approach? Were they putting out bulletins like, hey, be on the lookout, bolos, for these motherfuckers may have military arsenals
You know
and
what?
training?
Once the incident happened with the Cardenal Posadas in Guadalajara, yes, we did. But during that time, the only place that you would really hear about them was us, working Logan Heights, because we knew, dude,
man.
but nobody else knew.
That's interesting,
Yeah,
dude.
nobody knew. So that's why I was telling you, when the Cardenal came out, they had all these cameras come, and the PD would always say, send them to Contreras. And I'm working patrol. I have videos where I'm in a patrol car, and they're going, I go, hey, well, listen, let me bring this kid over there. And I actually go up to a group of gangsters. I go, hey, tell me about this. Hey, Contreras, you know we can't, but it's on video. Nice. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, I was an expert on that.
Excellent,
because I knew these kids.
That's awesome, bro. That's history, man. That's
history.
history.
It was history.
So tell us about your time in Mexico. And, I know you mentioned Juarez right before this, and then you mentioned Mayo Zambara.
Yes. How
did that come about?
Now I'm working, like I said, going through my career real quick. I worked patrol. I worked community relations for a year. I get in trouble, go to Southern, because we get in trouble too.
Absolutely.
My penitence was going to Southern San Isidro. That was like, oh, you're going to hell, right? Dude, I get to San Isidro and I come in with a Logan Heights mentality. I am hitting houses. I'm getting dope. And I last year, about a year and a half, and then I transfer over to GST, Gang Suppression Team, which is like the LAPD crash team. We're in uniform. So I'm working the PD. I think I was there like for 4 years, 3.5, 4 years. And then I make sergeant. When I make sergeant, I last in patrol for I think a year and a half, and then I got promoted, and I became the chief police, Bejarano at the time, his special assistant.
Oh, sweet.
I was the liaison to the Latino community, and then I actually, right before 9/11, because for whatever reason, I've always been a visionary. I saw 9/11, not 9/11 happening, but I saw the war between Israel and the Arab community. So the San Diego PD has always had groups that would meet with the chief, whether it was a gay and lesbian community, Asian Pacific Islander, Black community, Hispanic community, and there was one more I'll remember. So we had these, and we would meet with the chief. There were groups of community leaders, pastors, businessmen, and they would meet with the chief every month, and they would complain or praise the police department. So when we had these groups, I was in charge of the Latinos. So I told the chief one day, I go, Chief, you know what? I don't know if you see this, but man, it's hitting the news. It's all a matter of time. Arabs and Jews, we need to form our own advisory boards. And he goes, do it. So I actually put together the first Arab American and Jewish American together. We had 30 people as an advisory board. I had imams from the Muslim. I had rabbis. I had community leaders. I had business leaders. I had community people. I had 30 Jews. And it was funny, when they come in and meet with the chief, the Jews would sit on this side, the Arabs sit over here. I'd sit on one corner and the chief would sit there. But we would break bread. And we knew the imams, dude, they would literally sit down and talk with a rabbi, the biggest rabbi, the church in La Jolla, would break bread with the rabbi with the biggest church over here off of Genesee Avenue.
That's nice, man.
You know what I mean? Balboa and 163. So I was able to form that. Now, as we're going, the Latino community kept me really busy. Dude, I could tell you stories. But I also became the PIO for the Latino community. So every time there was an incident in a Latino community, dude, I'm the one that came out on Univision, on all the channels. And I'm the one, de parte de la Policía de San Diego, los bienvenidos. Dude,
would you do it on scene at the location of the incident, or would you do it at the headquarters?
Dude, believe it or not, there were times I was always going to the scene.
Nice.
But if I wasn't at the scene, there was times when it's a Sunday afternoon, I'm in my pool in Chula Vista.
Wow.
They would call me, hey, Contreras, hubo una balacera, ¿puedes hablar? Sí, claro, pero vas a tener que venir a mi casa. I would literally just put a shirt on and put a tie on. But if you would see, I had shorts on.
Wow, dude.
And my background was, a nice background. And I'd be by my pool and I'd have a suit on and I'd be telling them, see the body, because I'd read the incident. I'd call the watch commander. So, dude, I did that many of times. So when you were talking about being the PIO, I was the PIO. So I know exactly.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I was a PIO for all the Latino communities.
Sweet. Hey, guys, consider becoming a patron where you will get first exclusive dibs on the video before it airs to the public, and you'll get to ask the guests special questions that you have in mind. So that's also another way to support the channel. Thank you, guys. Appreciate all of you. Keep pushing forward. Make sure you hit that link in the description below.
From there, I go to internal affairs. I worked in internal affairs for 2 years. That was very interesting. There, I left internal affairs. I went to gangs as a detective sergeant. Now I go back as a detective sergeant. Dude, we work some cases. I'm not going to get into it. I'll come back.
Real quick, is IA Internal Affairs out to burn cops? Or is that a misconception?
What? No, that's a misconception. Okay. Misconception. But you do have
those ones.
You do have that one that got picked on.
Right.
Dude, I had 2 internal affairs and we knew who they were. And I would always tell Lieutenant in front of him, dude, I've never been a backstabber. I mean, what you see is what you get. I would say, read this guy's report. You know what, this dude, man, you know what? He doesn't think like us. And I would tell him right in front of him, you know what? He doesn't think like us. You know what? He's out to get somebody, and because I don't like people like that.
Right.
You know what? It is true. Don't make shit up.
Right.
Don't make it up. You know what? I never saw him make anything up, but I always saw that old conduct unbecoming.
Oh,
you know what? I'm investigating this, but I got you on this.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that was something that I always hated. And these little pricks, I'll call them, those 2 of them, they know who they are. They were always that guy. I couldn't get you on this, but I got you on this.
Yeah, I never agreed with that, man.
You know that, right?
I know exactly what you mean, man.
Yeah.
I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah. So no, the majority of us that were internal affairs at the time when I was there, I don't know how it is now, dude, we were there to save the cops. And you know what? We always gave the cop the benefit of the doubt. We always gave the cop the benefit of the doubt because we were there. We know what it's like.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, maybe that's the problem these days. A lot of them come from other agencies or backdoor or, I don't know, reach arounds or I don't know what's going on in there, man.
So at the time, I'm working gangs. And, dude, my squad, and, dude, it's not me. I've always recruited people that were smarter than me. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And dude, I always recruited. If somebody knew how to write a search warrant in 5 minutes and it would take me 3 hours,
right?
Or take this guy, my best guy, 4 hours, I would recruit that guy that took 3 minutes. For example, if I had a guy that had a memory, because I would forget everybody's name, dude, I would always recruit guys that were better than me. And I would listen to them. Before I'd make any decision, I'd go around the room if I could. If not, I'd make the decision and let's rock and roll. I'll die with it, right? But so when I say I worked with a great group of guys, and I always had the opportunity of working with great guys. You know what I mean? But I'm in gangs. I'm tearing it up. I'm working for a lieutenant named Andy Mills, who's now chief of police in Palm Springs. As a matter of fact, in 3 weeks, I'm going to have a special on him. You're going to love this one. It's really good. The guy's a legend. But going back to that, and then he gets transferred to CIU, which Criminal Intelligence. He calls me one day. My dad had just died. And it was January 8th of 2009. I'll never forget. He calls me and he goes, David, I'm working this huge case. We're taking down a huge gang set, 30 arrests. We solved 5 murders. I mean, this was a huge, it was called Operation Stampede. Huge. It was all over the news. We recovered like 100 guns, thousands of dollars dope. And I'm working, I'm getting ready to close. And he goes, I want you to come work for me in criminal intelligence. I go, yeah, sure. And he goes, I want you to work Mexico Liaison. And during that time, there was a guy that put a hit on me. Not a hit on me, but you know, Hector, when you're working the pinta or you're working the streets, everybody's always saying, oh, if you didn't have the badge, oh, you know what, I'm going to kill you and your family. And you're always,
every day,
take a number. Because, you know it's not going to happen. But there was one dude. And I'm not going to mention his name because I don't want to give him any power. But there was one dude that, you know what? He told me, Contreras, when I get out, because I got him on a parole violation, he goes, don't come to Mexico. He goes, don't come looking. He goes, when I get out, I'm not coming back to Logan Heights. I'm going to Mexico. Don't go to Tijuana because I'm going to kill you, whoever you're with. And I mean, and this dude, he meant it. Right. And I felt it. He meant it.
Right.
So when he's telling me this, I go, yeah, okay, take a number. But dude, when he's telling you, he's in the back of my car. Me and my partner Van Cruz are driving.
Okay, I was going to ask you what the situation was. So he's in the back of your car. He's
yeah,
pissed off.
we've already handcuffed him, and some things happen I'm not going to get into, but he had it coming. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he knows he had it coming, and but the cuffs were off. You know?
Right.
And but it was over. But dude, this guy, you felt it. So we get to the county jail. I go, all right, little frog. I go, right now when I get you in the Sally Port, because that's the old county jail right here downtown.
Okay.
Before I go, little frog, the old one, the old county jail. I go, right now when we get there, brinca cabron, jump. You know what I mean? That's when we took the handcuffs off, put your hand on the wall, and you jump, you're mine. And there's cameras everywhere. And he's up on the wall, and I'm holding him now. I go, what were you telling me? He goes, I'm just telling you, Contreras, I'm going to fucking kill you. You ever go to Tijuana? Yeah, okay, orale. So right now is the time for you. He goes, no, Contreras, I'm going to get you fair and square. I go, orale. All right, goodbye. They open up the gate. I go, you had your chance. We could have done it again here. He went inside, and he just looked at me. And you know what? I better be careful. So I always kept in touch where he did, I think, 6 months on the parole violation. I think it was a year that he gets 6 months. And I knew when he got out, because I notified the parole agent, he was in Tijuana now. And he went straight to the Arianos. And he became one of the main assassins for the Arianos. So I didn't go to Tijuana literally for 4 years.
Did he abscond?
Oh, yeah. He came straight out to Tijuana, just like he said he was. And I kept in touch of what he was doing. He was all over the news in Tijuana. So-and-so killed 3 people. So-and-so part of this hit squad. So I did not go to Tijuana, dude, for about 3 to 4 years. Because I knew, ¿sabes qué? Este cabrón.
He probably had people watching you, man.
Probably in Logan Heights. I wasn't working in Logan Heights at the time. I was working gangs, but we were all over the place. But I never went to Tijuana, so I'm okay. You know what I mean?
Right.
Dude, here, he's mine.
Correct.
Over there, he's not. So now I'm closing the case. My father just dies. I'm getting ready to do an indictments. We're arresting 30 people, 5 murders, big case. And as a matter of fact, if you want to read about it, I'll send you. It's on Rolling Stone magazine. They hit a slow story on this case, Operation Stampede, Rolling Stone magazine. They interviewed me on it. So I'm closing the case. Andy Mills gets transferred over to CIU, Criminal Intelligence. They have Mexico Liaison. And he goes, hey, I want you to come work for me, Mexico Liaison. I go, Andy, I can't work Mexico. He goes, why? I go, you know what? I just don't feel comfortable crossing that border. I go, and I told him the story. And he goes, okay. He goes, but what if I give you the Russians and I give you Mexican Mafia, because they're the ones that handle prison gangs, and I give you Hell's Angels. So now I'm thinking, well, no Mexico. He goes, well, no Mexico. I'll give you those. I go, okay. I go, I'll take it, but no Mexico. He goes, well, let me see what I can do. And I'm telling you how God works, destiny works, however you want to call it. I believe God. Within a month of him giving me that offer, all of a sudden I'm reading, because I always pick up El Zeta, the Mexican newspaper, for whatever reason. I love reading it. And I wasn't even working in Mexico at the time. I was working gangs. I read it, and I read that this guy had just got arrested for kidnapping, and he was now in Mexico City within a month of him offering me this job. So I call him back and I go, hey, listen. He goes, we heard, because I had told him who he was. And he goes, you got it? I go, yes. He goes, would you come now? I go, yes. I go, do I still get Russians? Because I do. I love working Russian mob, Mexican mafia or prison gangs and Hell's Angels. He goes, no, only Mexico. I go, I'll take it. Because, dude, I'm Mexican. I was born in Tijuana. 9 months old, we moved to San Diego. So I'm Mexican. I've always been Mexican, American, proud of both. And so, dude, I went and I started working in Mexico. The first thing the lieutenant did, because Andy, wait till you watch our episode. It's going to be really good in 2 weeks on the Gray Line. First thing he did was, before you even go into Mexico, he goes, you're going to get trained by the CIA. He goes, and they actually brought CIA retired operatives to my unit, to our gang to not the whole unit, to Mexico Liaison. And he gave me a book. It was called Gideon's Army, and it's about the Mossad. He goes, read this. And he goes, and make sure all your men in your team read this, because they're all men at the time. No woman ever put in for the job. Now they do. They're great. But he goes, read this book. He goes, you're not just going to be Mexico Liaison where you're going to go eat tacos and have a beer and, hi, everybody, we're America. You're going over there, and your job is to recruit informants. Your job is going over there to gather information, and you're not only going to give it to San Diego PD, you're going to share with FBI, CIA, with ATF. You're an informational gatherer, but every time you cross, this is one thing about Andy Mills. He told me, he goes, every time you cross, you go with a purpose and you have a mission. You don't just cross. Dude, when I was working Mexico Liaison, before I worked there, the teams before used to go over there, drink with the Mexican cops. Dude, my team and I never had one drink.
That's good. That's cool.
Well, the reason why, no, but we bought drinks. I had a $3,000 a month budget for drinks and food. I would never have, I never allowed my men, now we pretended like we drank.
Yeah.
Órale, tequila, Simón. But we would dump it because our goal was to get them drunk. And once they did, dude, our goal, we became experts at turning people into informants. And that's one thing that I learned from the joint, Hector, that I forgot to mention. I was a very good correctional officer because, believe it or not, I looked a lot different back then. I was pretty slim and had a full set of hair. The homosexuals loved me in the pinta. They would always go, Contreras. And dude, I would turn them into my sources. And they would give me knives, they would give me pruno, they would give me heroin. Dude, and that's one thing that I was always very good at, even working the streets, is having people trust me, but I never burned anybody. I always gave everybody respect, and I thanked them for what they did, but I was able to make a lot of great cases through informants. So now I'm working Mexico. Dude, I've had corrections to work with. I've had the streets to work with, and now I'm working in high level. We're recruiting chiefs of police. We're recruiting, I'm not going to mention any names, but we're recruiting politicians. We're recruiting businessmen. We're recruiting cartel members. I mean, dude, we are at a different level. Now, going to that, so now I want you to understand that my mentality wasn't like you have liaisons, like no disrespect to other departments.
Right.
To them, I heard one liaison once say, oh, with fish tacos and a beer, you could get any information from a Mexican cop. No, he's going to give you what you want to hear.
Correct.
Yes. No, dude, it's you having that relationship. You know what I mean? And they will, dude, they've saved my life many of times.
Really?
No, dude. They've saved my life.
By giving you what, heads up on what?
Dude, let me give you a perfect example. After I retired from the San Diego Police Department, Julio Cesar Chavez, you've heard of him, the boxer. This is after I retired, 2 years after I retired. My partner, Oscar, and I'm a private investigator now with Oscar Armenta.
Yeah.
Man, I love Oscar. He's like a brother and son
shout out to
me.
Oscar, man. You introduced me to that guy.
I do, yeah. Great guy. And Oscar had left the police department. He's working now with me in Mexico. We're driving, literally, we're in the same car. We're working some kidnapping cases. We're working a lot of different types of cases in Mexico, all over Mexico at the time. And I remember one time we're driving across the border. All of a sudden, I believe he got the first call. He gets a call from an old informant. Because as I was telling you, when I was in intelligence, dude, the informants that we made relationships with them. You know what I mean? I mean, it wasn't just, hey, oh, thank you for the information. Dude, when I would take them to get a Starbucks, I knew that they took cream and they took 2 Splendas, one of them. I knew the other one took it black.
Yeah.
And for Christmas, I knew they had 3 kids and I knew what ages. And I would send my wife. My wife was a parole administrator. I'd call her, give me $3 and get me a little G.I. Joe. What the heck's a G.I. Joe? Well, I need something.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's for a little boy. So she always knew that we kept every year. This came out of my pocket. This isn't the PD, but it's building relationships. So now, 2 years after I retire, and it's 4 years after I left Mexico, these sources are still calling me. A source calls Oscar and it says, Oscar, have you heard of Julio Cesar Chavez? And Oscar, I could hear him because I'm driving. We're in Tijuana. We're driving across. And Oscar goes, yeah, I've heard of Julio Cesar Chavez. He goes, hey, they're going to kidnap him. They're going to kill him. And this was a source. I believe at the time it was from the Ariano Cartel. I believe it was Ariano. It was one of them. Ariano Cartel. And Oscar goes, okay, when are they supposed to happen? He goes, you know what? He goes, we just heard through El Secre, which in Tijuana, probably all the cartels have this. All the cartels have one central area where they all share information. It's like a little center, and they all share. Hey, so-and-so's getting picked up. Okay, everybody okay with it? And then, let's say, for example, not all the cartels, but let's say the Ariano cartel would have a central database where they would get on the phone, 20 phones, and say, hey, we're picking up Chayo. Okay, is everybody okay with it? Yeah, pick them up.
But not
Now,
cartel to cartel.
No,
Yeah,
it's just internal.
Okay,
So this is the Ariano, for example,
Right.
okay? So Oscar tells me, he goes, hey, I'm not going to mention the name. I was kind of about to say, we had nicknames for all of them.
Right.
He goes, told me, and I go, okay. I go, really? I go, that's interesting. We don't jump on it because, I mean, it's a first call. Within probably about a day later, or maybe a couple of hours later, my phone rings. And now my source is from the Sinaloa cartel.
Wow.
And we had, like I said, we've developed relationship. So he calls and he goes, hey, Contreras, ¿qué onda, cabrón? Hey, muy bien, cabrón, ¿cómo está la familia? You know, wow. We're talking. He goes, van a levantar a Chavez, cabrón. They're going to pick up Chavez. I go, ¿a poco? Simón, ¿cuándo? But then he tells me where. His son is fighting in Rosarito on April the 22nd. I have all the dates, but I'm just using that example. I think it was April 22nd. And he goes, they're going to pick him and his daughter up. And I go, ¿a poco? Sí, ¿por qué? Because los Arellanos le traen ganas. The Arellanos were the ones that are going to pick him up because he's from Sinaloa, Chavez. And he goes, le traen ganas. And I go, okay. So now we got corroborating evidence, okay? These are sources, dude, that I had left 5 years before. And the third call I got was Oscar got. Now this one is from Cartel Nueva Generación Jalisco, who's working in Tijuana in 2017.
Yeah.
Oscar gets that call. Oscar was deep into them. And Oscar gets the call. And now this guy says, le van a mochar la cabeza, cabrón. Y se la van a mandar al Mayo. They're going to chop his head off and they're going to send it to Mayo Zambara as a trophy. And they were going to ask for $2 million. They all came up with where it was going to happen, when it was going to happen, how it was going to happen, except one said chopping the head off. But the ransom was all $2 million. So that, all three, without them even knowing. Once we found that out, then we went and we go, who do we know? I've always loved boxing, but I was never into boxing. I didn't know any promoters. I didn't know any boxers. But, dude, I've been watching boxing my whole life. At the time, now I do. But at the time, so now we're reaching out. How can we get a hold of Julio Cesar Chavez to tell him, dude, they're going to kidnap you? We couldn't. Finally, Oscar talked to an attorney downtown. I think the attorney told him, here's a number to Fernando Beltran. Fernando Beltran, he's the CEO and owner of Sanford Boxing, which is the Mexico's equivalent to Top Rank Boxing.
Okay. Yeah.
And Fernando Beltran was Chavez's compadre, and he's the one that basically brought Chavez up. We notify him. We go to his office in Tijuana. Imagine, Oscar and I look alike. I'm 5'11", Oscar's 5'8", 5'9". He wants to be 5'10". We'll give him 5'10". And he looks like me. Oscar, I mean, we could be little twins. We could be twins. He's shaved head like me. And so we show up. Two Chicanos show up at this multi-millionaire who owns not only this huge boxing franchise, but he also owns ferrocarriles, which are trains. I mean, this guy's a multimillionaire, has bodyguards everywhere. And I call him and I go, hey, listen, I need to talk to you. I'm a retired detective sergeant, San Diego PD. I got a retired detective sergeant, San Diego PD. We got information that something very bad's going to happen to one of your best friends. I'm a private investigator. I need to meet with you. And he goes, sure. As soon as we said American PD, come on in. So he doesn't know what we look like, and I don't know what he looks like. So imagine this. We walk into his office. We had to go like 3 layers. There's 3 layers of security. And every layer, I mean, these are all former military, not even cops, military, little short guys with AK-47s, AR-15s, and we're going through 3 layers to get to him. We get there. When I walk into his office, dude, he sees a Chicano. I didn't have a suit and tie on. I just had, regular clothes. He sees me and he goes, son policías? You guys are cops. Because big dudes, right?
Yeah.
And I show him my ID and we're telling him, this is what we got. They're going to kidnap him. You're sponsoring this fight at Rosarito Hotel. And we're telling him everything. He goes, all this is telling me it's true. So I look at Oscar and I go, Oscar, do me a favor. I go, because by now we're already working with the FBI here, with the Violent Crimes Task Force. We're already working with them. And I go, please have the FBI guy at the task force. I'm texting. No, I actually whispered. I go, have him call this guy. I go, give him his number. Have him call this guy right now. Because this guy was, who are you guys? You guys are the kidnappers, right? Because we're Chicanos. He sees me and then he sees my arms. I'm a little tatted up.
Yeah.
So he's looking at, it's you guys. And all of a sudden I look at him and I go, I see that his phone buzzes. I go, please get that. And he goes, why? He's sitting at a beautiful desk. I go, it's just like the movies, dude. I swear to God. I go, please get that. You need to get that call. And he goes, okay. So he gets the phone And he goes, bueno. And he goes, oh, okay. So it is true. Yes. Okay, thank you. So how can I help you? Dude,
Really?
the FBI guy called him, identified him, said, hey, I'm the FBI. Those guys are not lying to you. They're former cops. Please listen to them. We're working on it on our side, but they're not representatives because they're private investigators, but what they're saying is true. And that's how we ended up changing the fight. We doing a lot of work. They ended up arresting 17 guys in Tijuana, playas of Tijuana. I got pictures of all of them.
As a result of that?
As a result of that, we ended up saving his life. Chavez became our client.
No
Chavez,
way.
oh yeah, dude, yeah. I got pictures with Chavez. He gave us a big hug, took us to his house.
Was
and
he in shock that they had a hit on his life?
Oh yes, he was in shock. But we saved his life and his daughter's life. And we told him exactly, you're going to be driving this car. You're going to park right. We knew exactly. By now, we did our homework. So we knew where he was going to park, what room he was going to stay in. Dude, he goes, everything you're telling us is true. So, dude, I mean, what I'm trying to tell you here is it pays off to be good to people, to be respectful to people. Now, do these people eat dinner with me? Yes, I've had dinner with them, but do they go and meet my family? No. Will they ever? No, because you know what? We always separated them, but they introduced me to their family, and you know what? We always gave them, even today. I mean, not too long ago, there was something happened in Tijuana. I get the phone call from a reporter from Univision. Hey, can you find out if this is true? Yes. I call my sources. They confirm, yes, this is true. So what I'm trying to tell you is I still have relationships that are till probably the day I die.
It's that professional courtesy.
Yes.
It's almost like an art, man. It really shouldn't be that hard
No, it's not.
to be a good person and to hold a hard line.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So going back to that, so now you understand where I'm coming from.
Absolutely.
Now, I'm working in Mexico at the time. I'm getting calls from New York PD, from Green Bay PD. During the time that I'm there in Mexico, I'm there for 4.5, close to 5 years. We brought back, I believe, 17 homicide suspects. And I'm talking about these guys. One of them, for example, I talk about on that last show that I did. He murdered Diane Gonzalez here at City College. Armando Perez Borjon. He took me 2 years to get him.
Wow.
And so and when I say we bring them back, for example, Green Bay PD notifies us where they're at, where they could possibly be. We go with the Tijuana SWAT team. I never put handcuffs on nobody. I don't want anybody to think that I'm this Rambo that I go, dude, I always took a vetted team with me. And our intelligence helped nab these guys. I mean, one guy, this is how good we were at the time. I swear this happened. And I could send you a video, not a video, but I could send you the clipping on it. This guy murders his wife, coming from LA. He stops on La Jolla Boulevard, La Jolla exit. He strangles his wife. He sets the car on fire with his wife inside. The car bursts into flames. How he got from there by the freeway, how he got from there to Tijuana, I don't know.
From La Jolla to
La Jolla to Tijuana, within 24 hours, we had him in custody.
Wow, dude.
And this guy was a Mexican citizen, but since he was caught through our intelligence that fast, I called the district attorney. I go, we got him in Tijuana. He's in custody. Actually, Alex Lattis, who was a liaison at the time, became the chief of police. We sent him the flyer. We sent him everything on him immediately once it happened. Anytime anything happened in Mexico, they would send me, and I would either cross. The majority of the time, I would cross, and we'd start hunting with them, right? So literally, we'd start hunting with. We'd be in their cars. As soon as I get in the car, some of them would give me an AR-15. Some would give me my 9mm.
Yeah.
Contreras, we're on, and we're going like crazy. We're in the cars with them. That night, we're down there, and Alex Lattis, the intel that we had, within 24 hours, we catch him. Alex talks to him, takes him into a room, the murder. Right. He murdered his wife, and tells him, we got you. We're going to take you to Inami. The warrant's coming from the United States. We're going to send you to Mexico City, and we're probably going to put you in there with some pretty heavy players from the cartels. Do you want to go to Mexico City on a plane and go to this prison, Almoloya? No. What do you want to do? Do you want to go walk back to the United States? Yes, I want to turn myself in. I murdered my wife. So, dude, we literally, when I call the district attorney up, Bonnie Dumanis, and we tell her, hey, listen, we got the guy. David, we don't even have the paperwork done. Do you want him? Yes or no? Oh, well, we got to get him extradited. No, he's walking across. Are you kidding me? You can't do that. I go, yes, I can. He goes, well, we need to video. Dude, they didn't believe me. So they actually send a district attorney investigator, a San Diego PD homicide detective, David Johnson, great guy. They go to the border. I tell them, okay, you guys ready? They have a video camera because they don't believe me that this guy is literally, dude, that never happens.
So what does he have to do on camera? Say that he is willingly?
Yes, he is willingly. He is willingly turning himself in for the murder of his wife.
Wow.
Murder of his wife. And he is foregoing extradition.
Wow, bro.
He is so he comes across illegally.
That way he can't say, hey, they illegally captured me hostage.
Yes. And when we're at the border, I mean, we got the cameras on this guy. He's standing there. He's looking at him. And I tell Ladis, take the handcuffs off. And Ladis takes the handcuffs on, so it doesn't show, but it shows him coming because he got arrested in Mexico for the murder.
Right.
So they bring him to the border, and he voluntarily
submits to handcuffs. He turns, I turn around, and I go, I'm handcuffing him, and it's all on video. Not even the sergeant believed me. A San Diego PD sergeant was like, you can't make that. I guess I can. Yes, that's how good we were. That's awesome.
That's how good, dude, within 24 hours.
Did you guys bluff him saying the Mexico prison, or was that actually an option for him?
No, dude, that had to be an option. No, we didn't lie to him. I mean, no, there was no lies, no coercion, other than a couple. No, dude, it was no coercion. Dude, he didn't want to go. Why would he want to go to Mexico when he could go with you? You feed him 3 times a day. He fix his teeth when you were working corrections. You know what I mean? So no, dude, I mean, but that's how good we were. That's how good my team was. There was another time when we were in Rosarito, and they had arrested, they were detaining a guy that was full of tattoos. And I'll never forget this one because I'm down there. Dude, we got into a lot of really hairy stuff. I got one commander murdered.
In Rosarito?
In Rosarito. Not behind this one, but just it's right now just thinking about it. But we were there at the time, and on this case, this guy had gotten arrested because he had gotten into an altercation with another car, and I guess he crashed it or just barely nicked it. But when the Mexican cops at Rosarito saw that he was an American, he had money, oh, dude, they snapped him. So we were driving back from giving some intel where a Mexican comandante was just murdered. And I remember driving back Rosarito, they call us on the radio because we had one of the radios. They go, hey, Contreras, ¿dónde andas? And I go, ando ahorita pasando Rosarito, I'm passing Rosarito. They go, can you come to the comandancia? We have a guy here, because they all knew that I knew how to read tattoos because I used to give them classes, the Mexican cops. I go, yeah, sure. So we go there, and when I get there, the dude's all tatted up. And I looked at him, and I go, what name is he giving you? He goes, so-and-so. So we had a laptop with us, San Diego PD. We had a laptop, and on the laptop, we could run from Tijuana or wherever we were to our database to see their criminal history. And all the names that he was giving us were wrong. So we're going, dude, you're not who you say you are. Oh, yes, I am. I go, no, you're not, man. Dude, it's not who you are. Somehow or another, we went, searched the car, and we found some name or something. We ran the name. Dude, he had a no bail warrant for a double murder out of Green Bay.
No way, man.
Yeah, he had murder. It was a murder for hire case. He had murdered a wife and a husband, and he had decapitated the husband. And as a matter of fact, he still had the husband's baseball cap. And as he's telling me that, one guy they had let one guy go, but they had his name. I immediately called the border. I go, this guy's wanted for murder. And as got this guy, I'm interrogating him, they get the guy across the border. So we got 2 guys that day, that within an hour, 2 hours, for that double murder, the decapitation in Green Bay. So it was stuff like that people like that we got.
Now, does he have to be extradited back to?
No, he was a U.S. citizen. All we did right there is take him to Inami. Once we got the warrant in process, I literally walked him across the border. And he was a U.S. citizen. We took him Inami as Mexican immigration, and what they do, they deport him right there and then. They get the hell out of our country.
Do U.S. Marshals get involved?
Well, we didn't call the Marshals that day, but I could have. I mean, a lot of my cases, we did work with the U.S. Marshals, great group of guys, but a lot of them we did, and we didn't have to. Dude, we had jurisdiction.
That's awesome.
I mean, there's a warrant, and like I said, I never put handcuffs on, but It was our intel that arrested all these guys.
Dude, I had no idea you were doing that down south,
yeah,
man.
down south.
I stay away because it's sketchy, man. I start getting the butterflies, the anxiety.
And it was after I retired that's the reason why I opened up my PI company in Mexico, because I was addicted to adrenaline. And you know what? The only way, I'll tell you, I have a beautiful wife. Her name is Wavelyn Contreras, and I love her very much. And I've been blessed with her, and we've never had problems. After I retired, I had a knee surgery, a knee replacement. The next day after I retired, for 2 months, I was healing. Dude, she left me for a month because I was like a caged lion, because I never knew that I'd suffered from adrenaline addiction. I was like a caged lion. I mean, literally, even today, I'll check my phone when I'm working out. I'd be working out and I'd check my phone, texts. Dude, even today, I've been retired 8 years. Who's going to call me? But dude, I was that guy that I was always getting calls, always, especially when I was working in Mexico or narcotics, always getting calls from the CIs and so forth. So dude, I was unbearable. And I didn't know that I was addicted to adrenaline. I mean, Hector, we're talking about a police officer. I did a study when I wrote that book, When the Music Stops, the Pain Begins. When I know we're going off subject, but I think your listeners need to know this.
Where can they get that book?
Oh, they could buy it on Amazon, Amazon.com, or Police and Fire. It's called.
What was the name of the title?
It's called When the Music Stops, the Pain Begins. And it's three of us. It was Benny Cruz, myself, and Pete Bollinger. Pete Bollinger is a 26-year or 30-year veteran from the Santa Ana Police Department. Benny's a 42-year veteran. He was on the show for the Sheriff's Department, and I'm a 32-year veteran for the San Diego and Department of Corrections. So we put all our stories, and they're stories about our life, things that we've gone through, things of us wanting to commit suicide, or myself, not them. I put that story on there that are very truthful, having a gun to my head. I mean, I'm there. But on this occasion, and I talk about it in the book, Hector, a normal person in America will have 7 to 11, maybe, and that's a lot, adrenaline rushes where I'm talking about from 0 to 100.
Really?
Yes, in a lifetime. 7 to 11. 7 to 11. My stuff, on the book, it talks about it.
A SEAL can do that in an 8-hour shift.
Well, a normal person, I said.
Correct.
A civilian, a normal person. A CO, a San Diego police officer. And, you know, I'm not talking about all police departments. Dude, we could have 2 to 4 to 5 in one day.
Easily.
When that alarm goes off, as a cop, when all of a sudden you're in lineup and all of a sudden you leave and all of a sudden there's a chase, whether it's a running chase or it's a car chase or whether it's shots fired. And not every day there's shots fired. You're getting a call of a suicide. Dude, you're getting a call of a guy hanging. You get a call of a stabbing. You get a call. Dude, every day, could you imagine 5 days a week? 5 days a week, you're working. You've had 2 to 4 every day, 5 days a week. At the end, I did a tally. It came between 4,000 and 5,000. That police officer of 25 years, 4,000 to 5,000 adrenaline rushes. You know, you're like this, this.
Your heart.
Yes, your heart. But Hector, and all of a sudden you retire, and literally no more rushes. So that's why I didn't have a rush anymore. So what I did, I go, you know what, how could I get my rush? I didn't want to go back and work in Mexico, but you know why I did it? Because I needed a rush. And every time I cross that border, you know, when you were saying, when you go to Mexico, you get that. Dude,
I get that.
I got it too, but I loved it.
No way,
Dude,
man. I like my head attached to my body, man.
Dude, there was times that I was in Cuernavaca doing a threat assessment. There was a time that I was in Hermosillo doing a threat assessment at one of the biggest prisons there.
Yeah.
I'm in my hotel room, and I think I was getting set up. That's a long story. But, dude, where I wasn't sleeping, where I literally had my socks, and I got the sodas out of the refrigerator, and I got the socks tied up, and I have my socks, I got my knife, and I'm literally not sleeping, put doors, because the majority of the time, whenever we would travel, we would have security. That time, I did not. But, dude, I loved it. I woke up in the morning.
It's probably similar to how a war veteran wants to go back into battle or wants to go back to war.
Yes, it is. That's why they go back. That's why they go back.
Correct. But Mexico is a whole nother monster. And I know people from Mexico are like, oh, Hector, it's not that bad.
No, because you know what? They're used to it.
Probably.
Yeah, they're used to it. But going back to that, going on the Mayo Zambada, and you know what? Like I said, dude, I don't know how long we've been on so far. It's probably been a long time. So if you want to, I can come back on the Mayo.
Yeah, we're going to have to wrap that part up. But holy
that's
crap,
a
man.
Very interesting one.
Let's let's end it on the note of helping law enforcement officers or anybody dealing with that trauma, that adrenaline rush, man. Because like you said, and me thinking in hindsight, my wife and I survived the marriage for the 17 years of my duration of my employment. It wasn't until after I resigned that we separated. I'm wondering, and then you guys see me wild out on the YouTube. Is it part of that adrenaline that I'm seeking?
Well, Hector, it's not only the adrenaline. You know what? One thing that I was that guy that as a cop, whenever I would see one of our fallen officers die and I would see a female officer, especially female officers, I still could see them right now as I'm talking to you, crying on camera. And they're not interviewing her, but she's crying, and she's a sergeant, and they're wrapping the body up and they're taking the body and they're crying. And I'm thinking, are you fucking kidding me? You're crying on television. Save that for later. I'm thinking that as I'm at home or I'm there. And I'm thinking, you know what, guys, you know what? We stick together and we'll get payback. And you know what? He's in a better place. I was that guy that never thought that cops suffered from PTSD. I always thought it was combat veterans, trigger pullers. And I'm not talking about combat veterans, not just a veteran, a combat veteran, a trigger puller. I thought that they were the only ones. But it was after I retired, Hector, that I realized that, you know what, I suffer from PTSD. Because you know what thing that I know I didn't make up the word, but dude, it just came to me that we compartmentalize everything. We have to. All the suicides, all the shootings, all the overdoses, all the killings, all the rapes, every evil thing, and especially you working in the pinta, working in the joint, dude, you're in an ugly element there, but you get used to it. But you get used to it. It's home. But you're in an ugly, spiritual, physical element. Me working the streets, Logan Heights. Right now, when I was talking about Veto, I could still feel them. I could still smell them.
Wow.
You know what I mean? I could still smell the blood. It's those things. How many times did you respond? There's a dude stuck 30 times. You could still smell the blood.
Yeah.
But during your time there, 17 years, during my 32 years, I never stopped. Because if I did, number one, I was weak. Number two, I didn't know how to stop. Because if I stopped, dude, I couldn't go back to work because I would probably have a nervous breakdown. So I would just compartmentalize it.
Yeah.
I would hide it. And that's why after you divorced, after I retired, my wife left me. Like I said, she came back, thank God. But it was after, because what happened is all of a sudden I'm asleep at night. When before I would go to sleep, I'd drink or whatever, I'd go to sleep. But now all of a sudden the adrenaline's kicking and I'm like, what the heck is wrong with me, man? I miss it. But above and beyond, you start having those dreams. Let me just end it with this, dude. You're going to find this very interesting. When I first moved to Fort Lauderdale, and it's a long story, but long story short, I tell my mom, I grew up in Chula Vista, and I tell Mom I'm moving to Fort Lauderdale. She looks at me. By now, I already had sold my company to Oscar. Oscar's running the company. He's doing well. I already sold my house. I'm getting ready to leave. And the last person I want to ever hurt is my mother. But I tell her, Mom, I'm leaving to Fort Lauderdale. She looks at me, and she goes, why? I go, because I need to go over there. I go, I need to start something new in my life. I go, I need something new. But I didn't know that I was running. I didn't know about PTSD till I got there. And then she goes, but why? I go, and I remember I said this, as stupid as it may sound. I go, Mom, because I'm going to go solve a murder. And she looks at me and she goes, ¿Estás tonto? Which means, are you dummy?
Yeah.
She goes, you're not even a cop or even a private investigator. I go, I'm still a private investigator, but not over there. I go, but I'm still private. I go, but I'm going to solve a murder. I remember just saying that, Hector, just saying it. And then her looking at me, she goes, ¿Estás loco? You're crazy. But let me tell you what happened. I get there within 2 weeks that I'm there. We get there. I've always had a condo, small condo, but we're getting ready to sell the condo because I want to buy a bigger condo because now I'm going to live there. This is just a vacation home.
Yeah.
So, but I took a lot of my stuff with me. We put everything in pods, but a lot of stuff. So I needed to rent a rental space. And over there, the rental spaces, they're like 3 stories high and they're indoors because it's so hot and humid. So everything's air conditioning. But I remember walking in, and when I walked in, for the first time, they give me my space, 3101A, whatever. I walked in, and as soon as I walked in, I look at my wife, and I go, there's a dead person here. And my wife looks at me, and she goes, David, she goes, are you another, está loco? They all think I'm fucking crazy.
Yeah.
She goes, are you crazy? She goes, it's a dead cat. I go, no. I go, it's a person. She goes, a dead animal. I go, no. So I go up to the manager and I tell the manager, sir, I go, you understand you have a dead person in here. He goes, oh no, we've had that smell for 3 days. It's an animal. And he goes, I go, have you found it? He goes, no. I go, where's it coming from? She goes, I don't know. It's coming. I go, it's a dead person. I go, do me a favor. I go call the Fort Lauderdale Police Department, have them bring a cadaver dog, and you're going to find out that it's a dead person. Dude, I feel stupid saying that, but that's the smell you never forget.
Was
You
it
know
a
what
dead
I mean?
person?
Well, let me tell you what happened. So he looks at me and he goes, please, there's a dead person in here. And he goes, okay. So I leave. I come back the next day. I go, did you call the police department? He goes, no, I didn't call the police department. I go, why? He goes, because it's a dead chicken. I go, why do you say that? She goes, because I come from the Caribbean and we know what I go, it's a dead person. Bottom line, dude, it was a dead person.
It was?
It was, yes. They had murdered. It's a long story, but the long story short, they finally, a day goes by. I come in and I talk to the same manager. This is 3 days later, and I go, "Did you find?" He goes, "Yes." He goes, "It's up on the third floor, 306, and I saw blood coming from inside of the little what do you call it?" Where the rental space. And he goes, so I call the owner and I go, and what happened? This is all within 3 days. And I go, what happened? He goes, I called him and I go, hey, sir, is David there? He goes, no, David's dead. Quit calling, fucker. And he hangs up. And I go, what'd you do? He goes, I called again. I go, what did you do? Because the guy's name was David. That was the guy that ran the space. He goes, hey, is David there? David's dead, fucker. And he hangs up on him. And I go, what did you do? He goes, I called back again. I goes, hey, listen, if David's not there, I'm calling the police. Oh, hi, I'm David. And he goes, hey, well, listen, there's blood coming out. He goes, oh, we have dead chickens in a refrigerator. I'm on my way to go pick it up. So what he did is he hangs up. They come and they have a refrigerator that is one of those standalone, but it's not standing. It's right on the side. And he goes, open it up, because they opened it up. There was blood coming out of the refrigerator, out of the freezer. It was a freezer, out of the freezer. And he goes, open it up. He goes, no, there's dead chickens in there. And he goes, well, open it up. He goes, I can't, because they're riveted in. They riveted in the top. And he goes, I'm getting it out. So he brought a dolly. He gets it. And as they're taking the refrigerator with the dead chicken inside, they're taking it out. They bring all kinds of Clorox and they're cleaning it. This guy now says, there's something not right here. So he calls the police. They leave. The police gets there, and they get there. They ended up seeing the blood. Dude, they ended up arresting, and they did. And they had a dead body in there.
In the freezer?
In the freezer. They ended up arresting him, and it turned out to be a big case. What I'm trying to tell you with that is those smells you never forget. And if those smells you never forget, could you imagine? That's why it's after you retire that a lot of the times the dreams come, triggers, certain things. Only you know. We all have different. I could go on and on with my triggers, but I'm telling you, certain things happen to me and they're triggers. Because why? Because we have them in there. So what do I recommend? Seek professional help.
Absolutely.
Seek professional help, because you know what? The ones that suffer the most are gunslingers, not administrators. It's the gunslingers, the ones that went to work with a passion that you wanted to make a difference in somebody's life. You're the one that's going to suffer. I'm telling you, if you're watching this show, you're a gunslinger, you're the sufferer. Those of you that just went to work because it was a paycheck and you didn't care, dude, you're going to sleep like an angel.
Facts.
God bless you. God bless you for being that guy. But guys like me, guys like you gunslingers, I know you're watching this show. I'm telling you, seek professional help. Seek God. Seek God. You know what? Without God, we are nothing. Without God, we are nothing. Yes.
Oh, amen, dude. And it's the ones that care.
Yes.
Because, even being out 2 years now and looking back in hindsight, I can see not everybody gave a fuck.
No, dude. We had, I call them administrators, and not all administrators. A lot of them are, they were damn good cops, but a lot of them, and you could be a patrol officer, you could be an administrator mentality where it's just a job. Dude, to me, it wasn't a job. To me, it was a career. And Hector, and I'm going to end it with this. You know what? I was a cop for 32 years, and I'm telling you guys, those that are watching the show, I mean it when I say this. My dad used to always say, if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. I never worked one day in my life. Yes, I had problems with administration. Yes, I got disciplined. Yes, I got spanked. And you know what? But I'm telling you, I loved every day of it. And I hope that I was able to touch a lot of lives, save a lot of lives, and you know what? Put people in jail that needed to be in jail. We brought justice to the weak. So
thank you for that, David. So can you tell us where your Gray Line, where they can find your podcast?
Yeah, you guys could watch us. Actually, you could watch us every Tuesday at 6 o'clock. The Gray Line, the story behind the Blue Line. I got Benny Cruz. Like I said, that guy's a legend, man, with the Sheriff's Department. We got Chalo, former Chief of Police with Calexico. And we got Sean, former SWAT dog, San Diego PD. We have that show on Tuesdays from 6. It's only a 1-hour show, so it'll only take an hour of your time. And then also, if you want to watch another show, which is that following day, it's called Ash Wednesday, where actually myself, Doug Collier, a former detective sergeant, San Diego PD, the guy's a legend with gangs. And we got Bobby Arce, the guy's a legend when it comes to narcotics, working around the world as an attaché for the federal government. The guy has great stories. We actually smoke a cigar. We have a drink. And that show on Tuesday, it's very formal. We have beautiful videos, PowerPoints. On Tuesdays, we literally sit down, smoke a cigar, have our drink. It's either a tequila or it's a good coffee or it's a bourbon or a scotch. And we talk. And we have some great guests. Come on, great guests. And Hector, you've been on with us 3 times already, I believe.
Yeah, man, it's a blast. Dude.
Oh, dude, we have a great time.
Honor.
We have a great time. So, yeah, if you guys want to watch us, like I said. And then on Fridays, I have a boxing show. It's called Los Tres Chingones. If you guys like boxing, I have a lot of world champions on my show, former champions, but it's 3 guys, Cholo Trucker, Mikey Zavala, and myself, and we break down fights, and we basically have a wonderful time talking boxing. Yes.
Dude, well, thank you for
thank
coming
you,
to
brother.
the studio.
Appreciate
thank
it.
you
Yes.
for taking the time out of your busy schedule, man. And wow, dude, another banger. There you have it, man. This wisdom, this knowledge, this experience, you're not going to find anywhere else, man. You're not going to. Thank you for watching. If you want to see more, make sure you hit that subscribe button on the bottom. Love you. Keep pushing forward.
You've been listening to Hector Bravo Unhinged. Follow for more.